to do a lean bulk, shoot for 150 to 200 calorie surplus. If you're doing a moderate paced bulk, do 250 to 300. And if you are really going at it and you don't care about gaining some fat along the way, then shoot for 350 to 500 calorie surplus. Hello, good morning. Welcome to week 13 pull day. It's our heavy pull day, our main pull day. It's Tuesday. We did a heavy push yesterday. We are in week 13, as I said, so we're moving along in the 20-week cut. Seeing the check-in today, weight is still a little bit elevated from the weekend, probably just some water weight. Hoping that after getting another low calorie day today that we'll get back on track, because we need to get a couple of, really 2 to 3 more pounds in the down this week for our average to be where we want it to be for the week. So I'm not going to try and get too ahead of myself. But yesterday we talked about the basics for figuring out your maintenance calories and calculating a calorie deficit and weight training, rest and recovery. Today I want to talk just a little bit about the other side of it, which would be if you want to gain muscle, if you're looking to bulk, and how you figure out, again, your calories for that. So it's pretty similar, but with just some slight changes. And so we'll just talk a little bit about that as we work out and lift heavy things. The whole routine that we're doing today, let's look. We've got deadlifts, weighted pull-ups, bent over barbell rows, dumbbell pullovers, and then easy bar bicep curls. So let's get to it. All right, we got our warm-up weight for deadlifts here. We've got 155. I figure that's about 50%. I think I'm doing about 300. 305, looks like. Right away, the biggest difference between being in a calorie deficit to lose fat versus being in a calorie surplus to gain muscle is that fat and muscle are created and destroyed, for lack of a better word, much differently. Right? To burn fat, to oxidize fat, you can simply calculate the calorie expenditure needed. That's where we get that 3,500 calories per pound of fat. And we can divide that by 7 to get 500 calories a day deficit to lose a pound of fat in a week. With muscle, it's different because, especially when you're building muscle, because there isn't a 1-to-1 ratio with calories to muscle. If there was, it would just say, I think it's 700 to 900 calories, right? That's what you need to get a pound of muscle. And then you just divide that by 7. So it'd be 100 calorie surplus every day or so, 100, 150, whatever. The problem is that all of your calories don't go towards muscle and protein synthesis, right? The extra calories go towards the thermic effect of food, your other non-exercise activity. The muscle building is not just calories to muscle, right? It's some of those calories that are protein get synthesized into building muscle, right? And it's also a reaction to stimulus. If you just are eating more calories, you're going to gain fat. You're not going to gain muscle. So it's also, the protein synthesis is a reaction to stimulus of breaking down that muscle with weight training, right? So it's all these factors come in to say that there's not a very neat 1-to-1 ratio to be able to calculate your surplus. Now, luckily, there are studies out there to tell us what we need. And the TLDR is that you want to be in a moderate surplus. A moderate calorie surplus is proven to have while weight training is proven to give best ratio of muscle gained to fat gained, right? You're always going to gain a little bit of fat when you're in a surplus, But when you're in a moderate surplus, you can make it to where a better portion of that surplus goes towards protein synthesis versus extra fat. I'm not an expert, but that's the way I understand it. All right, second warm-up set. All right, let's get our third warm-up set. We've got 225 loaded. We're shooting for 6 to 8. We're good and warm. So 2 ways that you can easily calculate your surplus. The first is to just take your body weight and then multiply that by your target monthly gain rate. So for a conservative bulk, you would multiply that by 0.5%. That's 0.005. That would be a gain, a conservative muscle gain rate. For a moderate bulk, you do 1%, so that's 0.01. And aggressive, you do 1.5%. So if I'm 190 pounds and I want to do a conservative bulk, I multiply 190 by 0.5%, and that gives me a daily surplus of 150 calories. And so my target, if my TDE is around 2,900 calories, that's just about 3,050 calories or whatever per day. So, and that will put me at gaining how many? It's basically like a pound a month. It's really like 0.95 pounds per month. So it's a pretty slow pace. That's what little less than 0.25, less than a quarter of a pound a week of muscle. Now the weight gain may be a little bit higher. There may be some fat mixed in there, but yeah, that's the easy way, or the more mathematical way. The really simple way is just to say, if you want to do a lean bulk, shoot for 150 to 200 calorie surplus. If you're doing a moderate paced bulk, do 250 to 300. And if you are really going at it and you don't care about gaining some fat along the way, then shoot for 350 to 500 calorie surplus. But word for the wise, like your body fat percentage is going to go up pretty significantly with that. And so it's probably going to take you longer to cut back down and get back to a leaner body fat percentage. All right. I haven't put the new weights on. This is still the warm-up weight. I'm going to put on the actual weights before we do our first set. How about that? All right, now I have 305 loaded on for our first working set, and I think we're just shooting for 3 sets of 4 here. I think we went up in weight last week, so bottom of the set range, bottom of the rep range is fine. All right. So if you're an intermediate lifter and you're wanting to bulk, I'd say here's a really good place to start. Just shoot for a 250 to 300 calorie surplus. Do that for maybe like a couple of months. I know it seems like a long time, but you're looking for 2 pounds of weight gain per month. If you're above that or below that, you may need to adjust something in your nutrition plan, your calories, your protein ratio, or your workout and rest routine. But good rule of thumb is that 250 calorie to 300 calorie marker. A lean bulk would be less. A dirty bulk would be more. All right, here we go. Set 2 of our deadlifts. We got 4 on the first one, no problem. I'm not really looking to push it too much. 4 felt good. if we're feeling really good, we'll hit 5 on this one or the next one. See how it goes. Here's another fun tidbit about bulking, which I actually find personally a challenge for me. During bulks, there's not a ton of research on it, but the thought is that being consistent with your calories from day to day is probably more beneficial than, for example, having a lower calorie week where you're in a deficit and then having a high calorie weekend. And then, so your average is in a surplus, but you got most of those calories, those surplus calories on the weekend. Now, yeah, you'll, as with all things, like if your average calories are up, you're going to gain weight, but it just seems like there's not a lot of evidence to prove that a good ratio of those calories are going to go to muscle building and protein synthesis. So really the school of thought is to try and be pretty consistent. If you do, like me, tend to have higher calorie weekends and you don't want to blow your surplus out of the water for the week, is to be pretty conservative with your surplus during the week, but try to avoid a deficit. So if my maintenance calories are 2,900, I might shoot for 2,900 during the week. And then that gives me, a few more calories over the weekend to get to my surplus, which would be like, 3,000 or 3,150, 3,200, whatever it is, something like that. So yeah, and I haven't really found a lot of really great information on like, well, what if you did a surplus or a deficit of like a couple hundred? So for me, 2,700 calories during the week, and that really gives me some room in the weekend. It's not a ton of information out there, but it does seem like most of the data points to trying to be pretty consistent with your daily targets and especially prioritizing protein. So even if you are in a deficit, making sure you're getting enough protein, because without enough protein synthesis can't happen. So, and what there is some research on is rather within varying your calorie intake within a week, there's evidence about a larger variance. So like we're talking over several weeks or several months. And I'll talk about that in a second because I've got to finish this deadlift set. Last set of deadlifts. Honestly, I felt like I probably could have gotten one more in the last one. So we'll see if we're still feeling that way here. Yeah, we got 5. And yeah, I'm feeling good. Like that deload week really did wonders. I'm really feeling like I'm making progress in this lift, like more than I am with bench or squat. And I think that's probably because I have farther to go. I'm starting out a little bit at a deficit of what the weight should be compared to my body weight. So that's good to see progress. All right, we've got weighted pull-ups. Looks like last week I got 887 or 877, something like that. So 6 to 8 rep range is what we're shooting for. Eight. So the calorie varying that I was talking about was like more on a week by week or a month by month routine versus like within the week. What I mean is like Lane Norton is big on mini cuts, and I think that's a great idea. And there is some evidence to support that, right? So what a mini cut is would be you're in a surplus for 6 to 8, maybe even 10 to 12 weeks, right? You're in a moderate surplus, that 200, somewhere between 150 and 300 calorie surplus per day. And you're within your weeks, you're sticking pretty closely to that. You're not in a big deficit one day and a big surplus the other day. If your maintenance is 2,900 and you're shooting for 3,200, that's 300 calories. You're hovering around that, give or take a couple hundred calories. So you do that for 6, 8, 10, 12 weeks. And then you do a mini cut where you cut aggressively, like I'm doing right now, 1,000 calorie deficit so that you're losing 2 pounds per week. So you may gain like a pound a month. And if you do that for 3 months, you gain 3 pounds. And then you do a mini cut for 4 to 6 weeks, something like that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, something like that, or maybe 8 at the most. But what you're doing is you're giving yourself time to lose the fat that you've accumulated so far in your bulk. So it's a way to just kind of build confidence as you're bulking without getting too fluffy. So that's something that I think I'm going to try out at the end of this long cut that I'm doing, which is basically the result of a long bulk. It wasn't necessarily a planned or organized bulk. It was more of like a dirty bulk. And I wasn't really hitting protein targets, wasn't working out as much. Is it a bulk if you're just gaining weight without a goal? I don't know if it is. So anyway, this long cut that I'm doing right now is just to get down to a reasonable body fat percentage. But once I get there, I think I might try the bulk for 4 to 6 weeks and then mini cut for a couple of weeks to lose that body fat that gets accumulated along the way, just to try and stay at a reasonable body fat percentage. The other thing that you can do is just to monitor your body fat percentage. So literally you just wait until, if you start at 10%, you just wait till you get to 15% and then you cut until you get back down to 10%. That's another way that you can do it rather than doing it in a time-bound manner. But yeah, I think that might be what I try out after the end of this cut. Yeah. It's also, there are literally research studies to prove while in a deficit that this works really well. So if you cut aggressively for 2 weeks and then do maintenance calories for 2 weeks, they show that it really helps with adhering to your cut in the deficit weeks. And so over a long term, like over 12 weeks or more, they find that people actually are more consistent and lose more weight than a cohort that cuts the same amount of calories consistently over the entire time. So I'm kind of doing, the opposite of that. I'm cutting for 20 weeks. I did take a diet break in between, but I only have 20 weeks. I don't have 40 weeks. So take that. All right, second set of not lat pull downs. These are just regular pull ups. Just for context, my scale says I'm at like 17% body fat right now. Realistically, that's probably an exaggeration. I'm probably more like 18 or 19% still. So even when I do get to a point where I'm ready to bulk again, this is actually more body fat than I want to get to on my next bulk. So, and I've already lost 92, lost like 12 pounds already, almost 20 pounds. Started at like 208. Yeah, so more like 18 pounds that I've lost already. And I'm still only at like 18% body fat. So puts it in perspective at where I was coming from. And also like how the teens are actually a realistic expectation for maintaining body fat percentage year round. Like you don't have to be super strict to maintain this 15 to 20% body fat. And you can still look decent, right? I'm not shredded, I'm not peeled. But if I were starting here versus at 208 pounds, if I started from 190 pounds, well, that's a lot easier to get down to 10% body fat. So it's all relative to your body and your goals, but yeah, just wanted to give you context on what my body looks and feels like at 18 or 19% body fat. All right, last set of pull-ups. Ooh, 7 was hard there, but we did one more rep in our last one than last week, so that's cool. We've got bent over barbell rows and got 135 pounds, shooting for 3 sets of 8. Yeah, keep my glasses on. They tend to fall off my face. Alright, being that this is a back exercise, see if the camera can capture what it looks like on my back. So I'm curious, have you done a bulk in the past? What was your calorie target? How did you come up with it? All of the same principles that I've talked about in the past for like using AI to come up with your calorie targets can apply to the bulk as well. And the same benefits are there because you can interrogate it. You can say, what if I eat this many more calories? Or what if I change my volume week per week in this way? Or what if I introduce this cardio or whatever? You can tailor it to your very, very specific situation. I think that that's cool. And you can also ask it about methodology. So this week I've been Googling and I've been hammering AI with questions like, how does the average of your protein versus protein from day to day? And same with calories. How does your weekly average versus your calories from day to day affect muscle gain during a bulk? And that's where I got the information about how it's recommended that you try to not have a large variance from day to day. But if you are looking to get some higher calorie days or have like diet breaks, whatever, to do that more on like a 2 to 4 to 6 week basis, right? So yeah, curious what you all think. If there's any tips or any information that you feel like I left out, let me know. All right, and then let's get this last set of what are these called? Bent over rows. Oh, dumbbell pullovers. I love this exercise so much. I tacked it on to my Friday moderate pull routine as well, just because, I just love the stretch that you give, or that it gives. Yeah. 15. I only needed 12, but I was feeling good, so we'll go up in weight. I'm bumping this up to 60 pounds and shooting for, I don't know, 8, 10, 12, whatever feels good. We did 15 at 55, so I think 12 is the ideal rep range. Yes. Whew, feeling that one in my triceps. All right, we'll finish up with a couple of sets of easy bar curls. We'll also do our daily check-in in between these sets, so stick around for that. Okay, daily check-in. We weighed in at 190.3 today, which is a little baffling to me because it's actually higher than yesterday. Had a really decent calorie day. I did, my kid woke me up earlier in the morning to go to the bathroom, and so I didn't go to the bathroom again when I woke up. So, I mean, that could be the 0.4 pounds difference there. I don't know. We'll see. Best I can do is just get back on the horse today and try and see what happens tomorrow. The goal for the week is 187.3. We were 189.5 last week, and we were shooting for 189.3. So really, I guess 187.5 would be fine, but got some ground to make up. We've got 2 days at 190 or above. So to get to 187 on the week, we're going to have some low weigh-ins. I don't know. We'll just see. Maybe my body is starting to get used to this metabolic rate, metabolic adaptation, or maybe I'm sneaking too many little crumbs of food or whatever. Maybe I just need to be more strict about entering everything and sticking to the diet. That could also be what's going on here as well. And this is what I mean by that is yesterday I had a couple slices of cake because we still have leftover birthday cake. So maybe I just need to throw that away. I mean, I still stuck to 1,600 calories around abouts. Didn't get as much protein as I should though. So, and these cake entries are really just estimates. So it could be that the estimate is off and that I ate way more carbs and sugar than I normally than what's entered here. So that's also these are all possibilities. Could also be that the increase in carbs is making me hold on to water weight more. So my takeaway is today, don't have cake. See what that does. See if we can. If it is water weight, then we'll get rid of it naturally. If it is extra calories, that'll solve that too. So yeah, I've got this chicken and wild rice soup. That is a really good kind of base for the day. So I'll just build off of that with yogurt and jerky and some other healthy snacks like I did yesterday, but leave out the cake. And big surprise, maybe it'll make a difference. We'll see. So yeah, that's it. That's the goal. Stick to 1,600 calories, high protein, keep the sugar at bay today, at least for a couple more days this week, and see if we can get down to our goal. Because the closer we get to the end of the 20 weeks, the harder it will be to make any adjustments. So if I need to make an adjustment, I want that to be like this week. But yeah, thanks for working out with me, following along in this 20-week cut. If you have questions, please let me know. And like, subscribe. That always helps. I'll see you next time. All right, final set of the day. Let's get one more of these easy bar curls. That's all she wrote today. See you tomorrow.